They didn't have to like slow it down and show it to you. So they could be using it to get Nia over because she's feuding with Ronda. And it's like, look how hard she hits. How can Ronda Rousey survive this? Or they could be using it to get a lot of heat on Nia in real life from fans and backstage. And that's a weird thing too, because then Nia tweeted out, hey, look at my fist. And her fist is all banged up from hitting Becky in the face. She's like, no one's asking me about my fist. And then Becky's like calling her a bitch. And like, I don't like this blurriness.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
no, it's just it's a very weird era because of it all, because we have like just multiple levels of reality, especially with WWE, because we've got their in-ring character, we got the real person, whoever that is, we've got their in-ring character, we've got Total Divas is now a factor, with Nia's the only one of these people that's like a regular, but Ronda's now appeared on the show, like chatting backstage, and Becky's seen here and there a little bit. So there's the Total Divas version of people, which we know is muddied. And then there's social media, which goes all over the place. Because there's times where they're clearly just being themselves on social media. Like, oh, I stopped to have, I love the cheddar biscuits at Red Lobster. Versus like, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to break your arm next time I see you.
I mean, those cheddar biscuits are really good.
They are really good. But no, so it's just very muddy. It's not clean anymore. Because you and I have talked in the past about, look, wrestling had a lot of back and forth. Just in the time that, like, not just us covering it, but I think, I guess I'd say since the Attitude Era, as far as, transparency, like the Attitude Era did help open the door because Vince openly saying, yeah, we have predetermined endings. And so then the wrestlers were allowed to talk out of character. But then they shifted back. And then there was that era where you and I joked about where you would do these interviews that were so frustrating because they were 100% in character.
Yeah.
Now they've shifted back, but I wish it was just like, okay, they're in character in the ring, and then when you interview them or something, they're out of character. But because there's the Total Divas and the social media, it's just weird because you never quite know what...
Yeah, so it's like if you ask them about wrestling, are they going to be in character? And then if you ask them about Total Divas, provided they're on that show, are they going to act like that's real?
Yeah.
Like, are they... that's just a weird our side of the thing for people who actually talk to these people for a job type situation.
Well, that's part of it.
But also,
yeah, it's just, there's the whole... But I only brought that up because even if we weren't ever interviewing them, other people are. I'm just saying that how they present themselves, I'm sure it's confusing to them. It's like,
yeah, like what
can I
version
say?
Of me how do I handle myself? Yeah, I get that. So Nia's tweet was, and I'm not bearing Nia. I have no ill will. There are going to be people out there who will list off the people she's injured. Alexa Bliss being one of them. Whether or not she's careless in the ring, I don't know. You and I have talked to her. She's a very nice person. Mm-hmm. It's a situation where, yeah, shit happens, but there is a rumor going around that she does have heat for this because it did mess up a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like,
a major.
That it is a little more serious than normal. Like, oh, I injured someone on accident because it threw a huge wrench into big plans that they had going into this pay-per-view. Like we've said again, they only had 2 weeks to build this. They had a guaranteed match everyone wanted to see. Like, that is a gift. Yeah. Given that the short build for this pay-per-view, they had a huge match. Last weekend they sent out a fan survey, and I took it. There was a link online. You click on it, and it was basically you would rank your excitement level. They just listed off all the matches for Survivor Series, and I feel like they were trying really to gauge what people were excited about. I am sure, I'm just guessing because I voted for it, like extremely excited or whatever the top click was for Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch. I'm sure a lot of people out, the results were in, and I'm sure most people wanted to see this match over the other ones. I have excitement for Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles, but given that it's the second year in a row for it, I marked that lower.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting to see that was the survey they sent out. They wanted to actually get a reaction, sort of put their finger on the pulse of the fans as to what people wanted to see for this Sunday. Mm-hmm. Now, what happened this week on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan, apparently, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but apparently that decision wasn't based at all on Becky Lynch being pulled. which you feel like it was because it happened
Right.
after it happened after Raw. But apparently that move to turn Daniel Bryan heel and have him win the title was a decision Vince made over the weekend, and not due to Becky Lynch. And I get that if that's the case, which I have no reason to doubt it, but because we've seen AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. Mm-hmm. And why beat AJ Styles again? Whoever Brock is facing, Brock is beating. So it's not like, so why see another valiant effort by AJ Styles when you can mix it up? But anyway, to Nia's tweet, Nia was like, "We're not delivering mail here." Then shows a picture of her bruised and broken up fist. It's all red and swollen and so forth. And I get, again, is it just a tweet, or is she really leaping to her own defense? Like, hey, this isn't ballet, which I get, you know.
And look, because of course, people can be, obviously, understatement of the year to say people are shitty on social media. So there were people that were like, Nia's awful, Nia sucks, Nia should be fired, Nia this, and of course, a bunch of them were going to at her. Like, you ruined Survivor Series. It's like, and she's going to get abuse that she shouldn't get, even if you think that she completely screwed up, you know?
Well, she did ruin Survivor Series. But...
but I'm just saying the directly aiming at her thing.
Oh, I know, yeah.
The social media thing. Who knows? Was she, again, like to your point, is she legitimately feeling defensive, or was this just like, oh, I'm a heel right now anyway, so this is kind of like a fun character thing?
Because I see the other side of it, and I would say, if I were responding to her, you are delivering mail, kinda. You know what I mean? Like this isn't UFC. You are delivering soft blows. The point is to make your punch look good, but not real.
Yes.
So it's somewhere in between. Okay, you're not a postal. Now she's insulting postal workers. Like, what a millennial. Anyway.
What a millennial. That'd be a good sitcom, Matt.
Well, it sounded like, by the way, Ronda Rousey, when she was going into the whole millennial bit, because she's like, yeah, wearing your skinny jeans and your avocado toast and your wingtip shoes. First of all, I'm very glad she wasn't being interviewed by Corey Graves right then, because it was Charlie Caruso, because she would have probably been describing him to a T. But she sounded like she was starting her own Jeff Foxworthy bit. Like,
right, you might be a millennial.
So, but yeah, so my point is, Nia, you are kind of delivering mail. I would like to put it in a strange way. I mean, she used the term, because no, this isn't ballet, but this also isn't like, I don't want my superstars potatoing each other for real and getting super messed up. Anyway, we can move on from this, but it sucks because Becky's out, and for how long? Hopefully, I mean, I feel like that's a concussion issue.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be a situation where they will strip her of the title and show? I mean, all of this, though, that's the weird thing. All of these setbacks, this is what I'm hoping, and I feel like it's going to work. Anytime you hold her back, anytime an obstacle is thrown in front of her at this point, it's going to get her even more over. Like with Daniel Bryan, that whole fall where he kept failing to get that title back from the Authority. By the time Royal Rumble, rolled around, the fans just chanted him into WrestleMania's main event.
Yeah.
So anytime, like, she can't fight Ronda Rousey, she's stripped of the title. Oh, maybe she has to go into the Royal Rumble. All this stuff, all these obstacles just to get back. Because the only thing I hope is that she doesn't lose her edge, and that's what the Hail Hydra hug on SmackDown sort of made me worry about when she hugged Charlotte. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like people can put that aside. Again, there's muddiness there too, because you were tweeting about her naming Charlotte as you were watching SmackDown live. Now, and that was that's who I had expected that they would name as taking over for her. Now I didn't know that she kind of like bequeathed it to her, but I had mentioned how, and we can talk a bit more about the fact that look, even though there was way shorter lead up this time, they still did, even though in this 1 week, a weird, like, all the women, even though it was just the women this time, the women of SmackDown attack, and suddenly, like, for like 1 week only this time, some of the faces were heels. Because why were Charlotte and Naomi and Asuka, like, joining in? because Becky could not have been more badass just coming out to her music and facing down all those women in the ring, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, and the crowd was already cheering for her all night. And then if, like, the other heels showed up and helped her, that's one thing. But again, they went that extra thing that they did last year, except it was everyone from SmackDown, which is, like, all these faces were helping her. So it's that weird, like, out of, that alternate reality of Survivor Series lead-in just here on a very truncated schedule where suddenly Charlotte's helping her for no good reason.
Do you feel like that hug represents just a small moment captured between people who are real friends, and or is it a sign that she's actually becoming a little more of a traditional babyface?
I think right now it feels more like there was the reality of this sucks. She's right now not going to be able to compete. She can't be in like more in her most high profile match yet, and when she's hotter than ever, and now she can't compete. So that felt like a mixing in of because of course they decided that's what was going to happen, that she was going to give her the belt, or not give her the belt, but say I want you to fight for me. But them hugging, I think people can kind of accept as one of those like breaking the fourth wall moments almost. That doesn't really change anything for the character of Becky Lynch yet. I feel like you can kind of put a pause on it, given the fact that we knew that she really couldn't, was physically, being told she couldn't compete at this moment.
I could live without her, running away from fights or trying to blatantly like get herself counted out to save her title. But I do want her to keep attacking people. I do want her to keep up the sneak attacks, the stone coldness of her character. So I don't want them to, rein her in and make her be a complete babyface. And I think that would be a huge setback for her character and kind of squash a lot of the groundswell support she's got going. Buried under all of this, Eric, is the fact that we got Sasha Banks versus Bayley. So,
yes,
like on page 6 of this newspaper is those two finally fought in the ring as friends. They kept it clean. It was a competitive, friendly contest. And we would have accepted that too. Like when we were raising such a stink for months and months about why these two wouldn't fight, we didn't need one of them to be heel. We just wanted them to fight in the ring. They were going to have a great match. And whether it was a traditional babyface versus heel match or whether it was just two friends sorting it out and getting a little rough with each other, that sounds sexy. We would have accepted either. And so they did this, and like it was completely overshadowed by the fact that it was all a ruse by Alexa Bliss, and then the Becky Lynch attack. But yeah, man, she looks so awesome. I was worried because she got it looked like a broken nose when she had that broken nose and her bloody face. It looked like her nose got busted and her eye was starting to swell. So I was like, man, is she really bad off? And then when they started saying she had a broken face, I didn't expect her to see her on SmackDown. But then she was on SmackDown, granted a lot of makeup, cover makeup, but she actually didn't look as bad as I thought she was. Because I thought she'd have a huge, swollen, oozing eye, like gross, vile, just pustulous eye, like
sloth from Goonies.
Yeah, all of a sudden. Well, you never know. Like with that type of thing, some people require reconstructive surgery. You never know how bad it's going to be. Then when I saw her, the fact that she actually looked pretty good, and like I was like, oh, she could go. In my head, I'm like, she could go. Like it's fine. So when she was going down the line of women in the ring, I expected her to get to the end. Charlotte was the easy pick. Like, if you're going to find someone that she has personal history with, who is going to face Ronda Rousey, it's going to be Charlotte. But I also half expected her to, like, look around and say, none of you are worthy. Like, I pick none of you. And, like, just do it. Because that would have been a total Stone Cold move. And then she would have stunned all of them. They would have just lined up, and she'd given me a stunner. So let's move on from this and go hit on SmackDown with Daniel Bryan. And it was just last week, Eric, that we were talking about what happened with Daniel Bryan in the ring when he attacked Samoa Joe and then Shane McMahon and The Miz and all that. It felt like they were Garganoing him. Yep, and then this week they just did it really quickly.
But also we should say, again, giving credit to WWE, since often we criticize them, it's like the week before that, we, like everyone else, were discussing will there be any fallout for him not going to Crown Jewel? And even though we don't think it would be overt.